so you guys can see our beautiful faces. Well, at least one of us. I'm not going to say who that is. Good evening. Welcome. Try number 3. Round 1, didn't have it actually live yet. Round 2, technical difficulties. Not sure whose end that was on. Probably both. Try 3. Here we go. So, tonight I have Mr. Shane with me. Shane actually worked with me at Lifetime in Overland Park, Kansas. We did a lot of one-on-ones together professionally, got to know each other personally. I loved what he had to say and tell me about. He is now my financial advisor. So I'll introduce him in a second, have him tell a little bit about himself. For you guys, what we're going to be talking about tonight, 2 big things. 1, everybody's in sales. Whether you believe it or not, introvert, extrovert, anything like that, everybody is in sales on a daily basis. We're going to talk about why and how. And then the second part of this conversation tonight, outside of whatever crazy things come up with bourbon and whiskey, because I don't know what's going to come up, is we're going to talk about why that's pertinent to you. And secondly, when that becomes pertinent, what do we do for preparation in order to make sure that the conversation goes the way that we want it to and the way that it should go to help the client and or the other person involved if it's your personal life and yourself. So Shane, welcome. Hi.
Hi.
Yes,
Excited to
it's
be here.
working. Okay, it's good to be here. Tell us a little bit about you. Tell us about your life, your whole story.
Yeah. Okay. Uh, Air Force veteran, so right out of high school, joined the military. After that, actually, while I was doing that, I got a huge passion for fitness because of my family background, where I saw a lot of effects of not taking care of yourself, which motivated me to never want to be in that position and help people to get into a better position. So naturally, I had a lot of empathy for that, which helped me a lot to build a successful training business. Had a lot of success into so much so that I moved into more of a leadership, more of a sales, leading entire training departments. Really found that I have a passion for educating and sharing the knowledge that I have with people in that respect too. When COVID hit, I made a transition, time to pivot, right? Big box
Mm-hmm.
gym is not going to be the way that it ever was for quite a while, probably. People just don't want to be around a lot of people anymore.
Yeah.
So I thought about what I could still use the skill set that I've developed over the last decade to move into a different direction. I found financial planning was a perfect fit because at the end of the day, it's about the impact on people that I can have. It's just using a different tool and looking more long term instead of we're going to lose 50 pounds over the next few months. It's I'm going to change your entire future with the planning and trajectory that we're going to do over the next 30 years.
Which I love,
So,
right? It was hard.
right.
Dude, it was the hardest decision for me to leave the fitness industry.
Oh, it's
Um,
huge. I'm still struggling with it. Like
it's
I've been doing it for
tough.
months and I still fight myself daily. I'm like, man, I miss putting on sweatpants and just walking into a gym and just like dealing with people and
Yep.
just moving weights and it never felt like work. So yeah, it's different.
Lifetime was something else too. I mean, it was, I have worked at a lot of fitness companies and I loved everybody that was a part of that company and everybody wanted to see other people succeed and it was, I don't know, it was just a good dynamic. So for me, this is kind of our way to still give back to the sales world is how do we help educate other people with, with not being in that. And then secondarily, I mean, workout wise, I just try to help people whenever I can now because I'm not in that world now. So it's a little bit weird.
Right.
Shane's kind of awesome in the respect that he's had training manager of the year awards multiple times. He's been a top producer pretty much his entire sales career. He won't say this because he doesn't want to brag about it, but there's so many great things that he's done. So I'm excited to have conversations because this is going to be some good stuff. And so I want to start off right away with the topic of everybody's in sales, right? Because whether you're interviewing or you're trying to convince your child to do something or you're talking to your spouse or your peer pressure is a way of sales, right? Like that's something that's you're selling an idea to make somebody do something. If you're trying to convince your coworkers to look at things your way, it everything is sales, whether you believe it or not. And I always, as you guys are well aware, I like to talk about stories, right? So Shane, when we were talking before this the other day on the phone, he was like, "Am I allowed to say this?" He's like,
Go
"Yeah,
for it.
I
Yeah.
actually sold my wife to move up here from Hawaii to Kansas." And I was like, "Ooh, that sounds like a great story." So I wanted to so I wanted to start off right off the bat with that and go, okay, first of all, I want to hear this story and what you actually, so kind of walk us through that process, not only in the story aspect, but if you looked at it from a sales perspective.
Sure. So context, we were on the topic of talking about like, hey, sales isn't just if you're in sales for a job, everything is sales. I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't just sitting here bragging and be like, hey, I sold my wife. No, greatest sell of my life, 100%. But it's on the storyline of like, you don't even realize what you're doing when you're talking, like
Yeah.
dating, convincing somebody to marry you. That is a sale. You're selling them on the, hey, you're going to spend the rest of my life with me and you're going to legally commit to it. That's a big fucking sale, and we don't even think about it.
That's a
We just
big
do it on
commitment.
autopilot, right? Like biggest sale of my life was convincing my wife to marry me. I met my wife when I was on vacation in Hawaii. I got connected to her because one of my clients actually was one of her best friends. They used to work together back in their hometown of Syracuse, New York.
Mm-hmm.
So when my client knew that I was going down to Hawaii for a week or two, she gave me her contact info because she was a local living there to show me around, introduce me to some of her friends, local hangout spots, etc. Uh, so I had no intention of it being any kind of relationship between me and her. It just happened to be.
So she was set up with you, like there was something that was coordinated to have her show you around then? Is that
So yes and no. I
okay?
don't know what you know about Hawaii. It's like 5 different islands.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I was on vacation with one of my other clients who is from the Big Island.
Okay.
Okay. So it's like the biggest island in Hawaii, where a lot of people think of Hawaii as Honolulu, like the tourist location where you go. Okay.
Yep.
That's where my wife was living at the time. So it sounds like I was in Hawaii, but I was literally hundreds of miles away on a different island.
Got it.
So when you fly to Hawaii, you fly into Honolulu, and then from there, fly out to whatever island you're visiting, whether it's Maui or Kona or whatever from
Yeah.
there. Okay.
Yep, that makes
So the
sense.
entire week that I was there, I was on a completely separate island, but I was just texting with her because I had her contact info. I didn't know she was on a different island until I got to Hawaii and learned from a little Kansas boy of like, hey, there's different islands and we're 100 miles apart.
How old were you at the time?
uh, this wasn't too long ago. It was 4 years ago.
Did you take
So
geography class growing up?
yes, but I'm also from Kansas.
We are in the middle
So
of the
when
country.
when I thought Hawaii, I always thought Hawaii is an island. I didn't realize it was like multiple different islands. Is a lot more. There's a lot more to
I just
Hawaii
want to say
than
I'm not judging you at all right now.
that.
Continue.
I'm good at a lot of things. Geography, not the
Sales,
strong suit.
yes. Building relationships, yes. Geography, got it.
Yeah, exactly.
Got
That's
it.
on the back burner. I don't need to worry about that. So, anyways, we're sitting there. I'm enjoying my vacation, enjoying all the scenic views on the Big Island, but texting her back and forth. Just talking, just small chatting. So when I was flying out, we started coordinating plans of like, hey, I have to, when I fly back home, I'm going to be back in Honolulu. Like, why don't you meet me there? I can extend my flight a day or two and we can just hang out a little bit, see how things go.
And at this point, you've
Uh,
only been talking to her on the phone.
yep. Yep. Just
Completely
phone
professional.
conversations, like just text message. Yeah. Just small talk. Like, hey, I train your best friend who I've known for many years. She knew about me because she knows that I trained her friend
Uh huh.
who's done like multiple fitness competitions, etc. So she knew like who I was.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't awkward in that sense.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, it's literally like I never met her face to face. I land on the airport and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go and meet this girl and extend my flight and stay in a hotel, okay, because I'm not going back home. I already changed my flight. She meets me at a restaurant. And literally, like, from the moment that I was sitting there in Yard House, just like slamming like
Ooh, best restaurant ever, by the
yard
way.
beers, right? Because she's still at work
Mm-hmm.
because she lives there. She's not on vacation, so she's still at work. And the moment that I realized like, hey, this girl's a little different, as soon as she gets off work, she doesn't just like shoot me a text. She calls me and is like, hey, how are you? Like, hey, how's the flight? Like, are you okay? Like, are you having fun? You enjoying yourself? Like, hey, I'll be there in 20 minutes. I'm stuck in traffic. Like, legit calls me,
Mm-hmm.
which in in this day and age is weird. Like people don't communicate like that anymore.
No,
And
it's
was like
tough.
generally concerned to make sure that I was okay and that I wasn't like wandering the streets of Hawaii by myself, this crazy Kansas boy. So I'm like, oh, this girl's different. Okay. So instantly drew me in a little bit. I was
Uh-huh.
intrigued.
Okay. So she
Right.
sold you first.
Kind of, yeah. She kind of sold me on just that initial conversation,
Good
that
job,
like
Tamara.
initial persistence, that intrigue,
Mhm.
right? Like kind of pulled me in a little bit, okay, to open up the book. Uh, then she picks me up. We're just casually driving. We start the small talk. From the minute that I saw her and like connected that, like something clicked where I'm like, something's different. I tell her all the time, it was literally like a magnet,
Mhm.
like drew me to her. And I'm like, there is no way I'm leaving this island without taking this woman with me. That was my entire goal from that moment.
That's awesome. I mean,
So
okay, so let's break this down a little bit. So, because I want this to be informative too, right? So, what was it go like? I mean, and you can't explain love, right? You can't explain love. But what were the things that you were thinking outside of that? Like, oh, I have to take her back to the Midwest, and hopefully she says yes. But like, why? Why was that?
so it became quickly that like there was such an instant God, it's hard to put into words, obviously, but there was just such an instant calm and such a magnetic pull where just every minute of the day and everything we were doing was like me living a life that I've never really experienced before in that
Mm,
aspect. The simplest stuff was completely like euphoric enjoyable. Like
yeah.
I loved how she talked. I loved the way she looked at me. I loved the way that she got super shy and looked away when I was like talking like, hey, you're gonna come back to Kansas with me? Because from like day one, I was already talking about it. I was already like, hey,
You don't mess
like
around
I
at
just
all.
met her. I was already like joking with her. She thought I was joking. I wasn't joking at all.
Hey, I just met
But
you and
yeah,
this is crazy, but call me maybe. Like, call me. Like by
kind
call,
of,
I
yeah.
mean come back to
Not just
Kansas.
call me. You're gonna hop on a flight and fly thousands of miles across the country
Okay.
to the middle of the Midwest from paradise.
Okay, so now I want to hear how you convinced her to do that because to have that feeling on one side is one thing, but to be able to have that happen mutually is really hard to do, especially with somebody you literally just met.
So I'll say this: literally up until the day I left, when we were at the airport, like sharing our last little meal,
Hmm.
and I told her the same thing, like the whole time. Like I extended my flight. I think I changed my flight 3 times. Like I was supposed to go back to work, and I pushed that out like a week and a half. So I stayed like an extra week
That's
for
love.
her, missed work, like changed my flight multiple times. I'm like, oh, I'm going back on Thursday. Thursday came and I'm like, yeah, I'm not leaving yet. I'm going back on Monday. Like that happened multiple times. But even when I was finally like, okay, I really have to go back to work or I'm not going to have a job to return to and I got to see my family again. That last moment, she's still like, I think this was the tipping point for me where I'm like, there's no way I'm going to let up on this. We were doing something so simple where we finished eating lunch.
Hmm.
We took a picture together and just seeing the way that she smiled and that euphoric happy. Like I smiled with teeth, which is weird because just I'm never usually that happy where I'm like full gleaming smile.
I've never
And we
seen
took
you
a
do that before
picture,
in my life, ever.
right? And we took a picture and we still have that picture. And I'm full on teeth, like euphoric happy, like next to this girl. She's the same way.
Wow.
And we just have ear to ear smiles. And then we finish eating lunch and we're literally walking through the shopping mall, just holding hands, not even like shopping, just literally walking through the mall, just window shopping just to kill time until my flight.
Hmm.
Right. And I just remember like thinking, I could do this for the rest of my life. Like that moment right there, like something so simple. And like I enjoyed it so much. And I'm like, I could do that with this woman for the rest of my life.
I don't see you as the hopeless romantic type,
Dude,
but
I'm not, never have been.
that's what's weird to me is that that's what we call destiny, you know? It's crazy. If anybody believes in destiny, I do. But wow.
So
So what was the kind of the tipping? I wish I had her on this call because I'd like to hear her side. Hey, what was the tipping point for you where you were like, yes, I'm going back to the Midwest with this crazy dude?
you know what it was?
Mm.
I am persistent as fuck.
Guys,
That that's and you want to talk about sales,
and now you're
like
stuck.
everything is sales. The persistence, right? Like the persistence prevails. Okay. So I knew that I had to find a way to influence this woman to give me the chance,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I knew that it was coming from a good place because I knew if this woman gave me the chance, there is no way in hell that I would mess that up,
Yep.
right?
Well, there's
Okay.
so many
So it was
things.
coming
Go
from a
ahead.
good place.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm just trying to maliciously like influence her for no
Oh,
purpose.
of course.
It's I know it's in her best interest for her to get this like-minded of what I'm thinking
Mm-hmm.
to influence her thought so that we can see where this goes.
But there's so many things that had to have been right, right? Like it had to have been right place, right time, which I mentioned earlier. So,
Mm-hmm.
because if she is in the right spot, in the right mental state to want to make that jump, because it's not like we're going from one city to the next. We are literally flying hours upon hours back onto the mainland of the country, away from family, friends, whoever's out there.
Yeah.
And that's a big jump. So, on her side, you must have done some convincing, at least a really good job up front, in getting her to go, okay, this is worth a shot. So I'll have to ask her offline. I want to hear her side of this. She should jump on the call and be like, oh, yeah, let's check it out. So that's really cool. So anything you want to wrap up with on that, or is that pretty much the whole story?
so at the end of it, that was the groundwork, but
Uh-huh.
it didn't end like I didn't close the deal when I left and then she flew out the next day,
Mm-hmm.
right? It was still like me still calling her, me still talking to her. It literally for probably about a 3 to 4 week period after that, it was about a month before she finally flew out here. And it was literally like every single night after work, like we would FaceTime for 6 plus hours. Like that was an ongoing process. Like that was a lot of communication. She would call me on her way to work. Like I was still working that deal per se, okay? But
Yep.
I was building that relationship at the end of the day, okay? So what started to leverage it into open it more is her idea. Is she started to see like the real me, and it wasn't just this facade of me on vacation just trying to sell her in this thing, but
Mm-hmm.
she got to see who I really am as a person.
Yep.
She got to see who I am with my daughter. She got to see who I am outside of work, and like that's what opened her up to like she could start to visualize the future that we could make together. And she took that leap of faith and flew here to see how it would work out, and worked out great. We literally got married 3 months after that. So we moved quick because we knew that something was different,
Mm-hmm.
and like everything aligned. And like I was never looking for anything.
Mm-hmm.
It came out of nowhere.
Yep.
Okay. But I knew from that moment that something was different. And I knew that I couldn't lose that. I would regret it for the rest of my life if I'd have lost that.
It always comes from left field. You never know what it's
Yeah.
coming, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
That's why I tell people, I'm like, this sounds crazy, and I'm not a therapist, but I'm like, don't try to find it. Just
Mm-mm.
live your life to your full extent, and it will find you. So if I take three things away from this in a sales perspective, because obviously I want to relate this back to why this is relevant, right? One, you were persistent. Two, you built value in something that she had a need for. So she probably wanted a sense of belonging with somebody, and that connection, that flame happened, right? So that if I let this moment go, I'm going to be extremely disappointed. It sounds like both of you felt that. So you built that value, and the consistency was there. So it was. I love the persistence because that's a big thing. Because what's the average amount of times you have to hear no before somebody says yes? Like 7 or something like that.
7. Yeah.
And it sound to me, even being in sales for years, I think that's a high number. I'm like, really? Because if I get told no the first time, I'm not happy.
I've never asked 7 times.
Nope, me neither.
Except for that one situation, I asked way more than 7 times. Outside of that, though,
So your wife
never.
was the one and only above 7 times, but that's a
Yes.
very important thing, right? So if people act like you did with your now wife, maybe they'll get some sales, or maybe they'll convince their friends or their family or their coworkers to do the things that they want to do because you had a passion for it, right? So there was passion, you were genuine, and I think on her side, that's another big point to bring out here is that you were genuine with her and you let her see the real you. And I think that's a huge thing that people miss in sales is they are robotic or they're really scripted. And it's like, no,
Hmm.
people want to know that you're a human being. They want to know that you have the same issues and the same problems that they have, and they don't want to hear the script. Like even tonight, I was on the phone with a guy trying to cancel my auto payment from Ally Financial for my truck, right? Because my truck's totaled. Like, I don't want to pay you for my totaled truck. So, and the guy, you could tell clearly that he was reading off a script. He was like, this and this, Mr. Lonick, thank you, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, oh my God, dude, just talk to me like a normal person. Don't read the
Right.
script. And it's funny because that's how we train people because we have to have some sort of system in place, right? But the people that truly excel in human interaction, and I say that word instead of sales because that's what sales is human interaction, is you can't script it. You have to find your own niche and be genuine. So props to you on that.
100%.
That's awesome.
Because script is putting everybody in a box, right? That's
Hmm.
like acting like every person that would walk in that I would try and sell something to is the exact same and has the exact same problems and the exact same needs. And the exact same solution is going to be the right fit for them. Like
Yeah.
that's the only way that a script really works, right? And when you're working with a script, you're focusing so much on what you get. So I'm focusing on making the sale to make a commission for my job. What am I getting out of this, right?
What are you
Not what
getting?
am I giving,
Yep.
right? That's the difference. When you go like consultative approach, it's what am I giving? What's the opportunity that I'm giving to this person that I know is going to be impactful?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's where the conviction and passion comes from. Is it's I know that I have something of value that I can help you because I found out what your pain points are. I found out what solution you need, and I can offer that to you. So when I'm persistent, it's coming from a place because I am truly 100% confident that I can help you. And if I let you walk out of here without making that solution happen, I failed you because I can help you and I can change your life in a positive way. And I let you walk away because I was scared to act.
Yeah. And you can't be. And that's real, guys. And okay, I'm gonna get a little bit emotional right now. I'm not gonna mention names, obviously. Hopefully, she watches this. We'll see. I had a client a couple of years ago, about 3 years ago, who walked into the gym. I could tell up front, very apprehensive, uncomfortable, right? And had a lot going on in her world, and had son commit suicide in the last year. She was going through her own issues, and she signed up. So she signed up for a membership, wanted to make a lifestyle change, wanted to lose some weight, wanted to get through things. And she came into my office the very next day and she said, "Brian, I can't do it. I have to quit." And this brings up a valid point from what you just mentioned, right? You have to come at it from an angle that you have something to give, that you are trying to help other people. Because if you don't, then the conviction isn't there and you won't make a difference, and you won't make the sale. And I use the word sale, and I want to use it because I want to keep it in perspective. But the big thing was when she said that, I had to have the courage to go, "No, you are not quitting on me day two." And I said that. I was like, let me fast forward here. 6 months from now, and this is the conversation we had. 6 months from now, if I let you quit right now here in front of me today, and 6 months from now, something drastically worse happens to you because you didn't start your fitness journey, because you didn't have that contact with me, at least have somebody to talk to on a day in and day out basis when you come to the gym. If nothing else, at least to have somebody to talk to. If I didn't tell you that you had to commit to that and do it, and something bad happened, that's on me. So you're not quitting. You have to give me at least 30 days that you're going to commit to your health and your change and your lifestyle change. And guess what? She kept at it. And we still talk to this day. And I love her to death. And that's the kind of change that you have to have, right? Sorry, that was
Mm-hmm.
you got me going on a track with that. That was
No, that's impact, man.
it
That's
is.
literally that's a minute decision of like, okay, I can avoid the fear of rejection and just say, okay, fine, let's cancel your membership. Or that's no, like I have the conviction to I know that I need to make this impact and I need to keep this person because it's in their best interest. So I'm going to step over that uncomfort line and I'm going to put my foot down and say no. And I'm going to take that approach on I know what's best for you and I'm going to help you.
Yeah.
And like the reason that she stayed at the end of the day, like she agreed with that, right? You know why she agreed with that? Because of your conviction.
Mm-hmm.
Because of you didn't just like, hey, no, I think you should really stay. That'd be what's best for you. No, you came at it with 100% empathy,
Yep.
right? And like understanding because you can sit there and you know if you let her walk out, you know what that's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
We've been in this industry so long, I know what's going to happen. When you say no, I can do this on my own, I know what's going to happen. I've seen it 1,000 times.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's why I can come at this with the conviction and passion that I do,
Yep.
because I know the alternative, and the alternative is far worse than you just giving this a chance.
Yep.
Because I know if you just give it a chance, okay, the positive outcome of that way more impactful. And I'm the reason, right? I was the little filter that put you on this new course for your future life.
Yep. And I want to dive into that a lot tonight, but I want to roll back to why everybody's a salesperson. I want to hit the point home on this, and then we're going to go into the preparation side, right? So why is everybody a salesperson? So obviously he's now married to his wife, and if he hadn't had that conviction and the other three things that we mentioned earlier, then he wouldn't have done that. Like he could have been scared and afraid of rejection and then just not said anything and gone back home and never would have talked to her again, and life would have went on. But that wasn't fate, and that wasn't what was meant to happen, and he took that leap and she took that leap, and hopefully they both love that leap. So, and you're both still there, which is awesome. So I love it. So, and you guys, you use this in your day-to-day life, right? So like interviews are a big thing for me. I want to hit on interviews, and you probably have some story specific to you as well. But I watch people interview. So I just interviewed for a position, obviously, to go full-time military in terms of going IT route, because I didn't think same lines along what you were talking about. I didn't think the world of sales and fitness was ever going to be the same, at least not for the next couple of years. And
Yeah.
I needed to have time for my family and provide for my family, so I made that decision, and it was extremely hard. However, I was going into a field that I had no experience in professionally, zero, which is hard. And I was making good money because Lifetime pays its employees pretty well. And I couldn't take a huge pay cut because our living scenario was we had to make so much money per month in order to survive, right? And so I had to sell myself on these interviews. And how do you do that, right? So somebody that's not in sales, well, I don't know how to sell myself. Like I've actually done interviews where people are like, "Oh, I don't have experience in this." Okay, so tell me about what you do have that's relevant. And nothing, like they literally did the opposite, the polar opposite. It was like, "No, you just told me why I shouldn't hire you. You're in an interview. Don't tell me why I shouldn't hire you. Tell me why I should hire you." And it's extremely aggravating to me to watch some of these things, but it's because they just don't look at it from the right state of mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's that you are selling yourself to the interviewer as the interviewee. And everything's relevant, right? So for what I did, I used real life scenarios of situations where I went into a job that I knew nothing about and I excelled extremely quickly, and I used things that were relevant to the current scenario and went, okay, so how can I, and this is where the preparation comes in, and we'll talk about this more, but the preparation comes in with, okay, how do we convince this person that I'm the best candidate without any experience whatsoever? And that was my scenario. And I had to basically go through real life scenarios of where I've been in a scenario where I didn't know anything about it, and I exceeded to a great capacity. And giving those examples, being confident but not arrogant. So that's something that's huge for me, at least, was I
Mm-hmm.
went into it with confidence, but I didn't want to come off as arrogant because that turns people off real quick. Like I'm sure if you did that with your wife, like, hey, kind of a big deal. When back in
Right.
Kansas City, all the girls want me, so you should come back. And she's gonna be like, "Bitch,
It's in
please,
a very different
bitch,
situation.
please.
Yeah.
You need to back off." And that would be her reply. Versus the way that you approached it was completely different, right? I'm sure you were at least somewhat humble and has a sense of humility to it. So that's a huge scenario for me is interviews. So if you're interviewing for a job, you have to sell yourself. And in order to do that, you have to have preparation. So how are you going to go into this? So the job you're interviewing for, what's the company about? What are their goals as a company? What's their motto? What's their mantra? Because everybody has one, right? What are their shortcomings? What are their strengths? And then you have to research this. So when you go into the interview, it's easier for you to really articulate how you bring something to the table that can help this company get to those goals and overcome those problems that they have. And secondarily, what they might be missing that you can provide. So is there anything like that for you in your personal life, Shane, that kind of shows that? For you, like how is in your personal life have you been a salesperson without actually being in sales? And I'll be right back real quick, so keep talking.
Yeah, no, 100 different ways, right? So to piggyback on the interview thing, like we're talking about how we're going to get later into like preparing ahead of time for who you're going to be talking to, what your process is going to be, how you're going to ask these questions. Your interview is the same way. Like if you're just going in blindly and like you don't know this company's history, like you don't know what this company is really looking for, like you don't know how you're going to fill that void, right? Okay. So sales 101, what is the problem? How can I fill the solution? The interview is the same way. The problem is they have a vacancy of a need, okay, for a certain kind of employee, a certain kind of talent that they're looking for. So if you can leverage yourself as, hey, I am the solution to your problem and here's why, X, Y, Z, that's how you nail that interview. It's not the resume. It's not the little one sheet. Like your little resume, the who you know and the what your experience is, that's what gets you the interview. That's just what gets you in the door. Once you're in the door, it's your position to lose. And it's going to be of how you present yourself in that kind of talent. Okay. How do you sell yourself, like Brian was saying, as I am the fit for your problem? And you have to do your research. Look through the job requirements. I'm looking for like every job that you're going to look for. It's going to say requirements. This is who we're looking for. Okay. So if you're not like literally dissecting every little line of that to see like what they exactly are looking for, they're telling you the answer to the question, right? You're walking into there and being like, hey, how do I sell myself on this position? They're telling you the answer in their job post. They're telling you the exact person that they're looking for, right?
Yep.
Do your research. Know what the company is doing, know how they're growing, and know how you can leverage yourself as I'm the solution to that problem.
Yep.
And here's why, regardless of what your background experience is going to be. And then to piggyback on that, like sales in a personal life, I have little kids. Like one of the greatest things that I had a leader tell me really early in my career ever was ask like a child. You know when your kid's like in the backseat of the car and they're like, hey, daddy, I want ice cream. Mm-hmm. And you're like, no, we're not getting ice cream. They're like, but I want ice cream. No, we're not getting ice cream. Right? It's super late. It's 7:00 at night. There's no way we're getting ice cream. You don't need that much sugar. I want ice cream. I want ice cream. I want ice cream. Daddy, can I have ice cream? Daddy, can I have ice cream? Okay. That's that ask like a child persistence, right? Mm-hmm. Eventually, if you're so persistent because a child doesn't know any better, they don't have fear of rejection.
Yep.
They don't have any of these emotional fears. They don't have any of these things that we learn as we get older and more accustomed to society. They haven't learned that yet. Okay. So they just know what they want and they ask persistently until they get what they want. And you know what your kid just did to you? Your little 2-year-old just did?
He sold you.
Sold you.
He really did. It's crazy. Like they're better at selling than we are because they have no inhibitions. Like it's just like, no, I'm going to get what I want no matter what it takes. And for them, the only caveat is they're doing it to get their personal gain. Yes. In the real world, that doesn't necessarily work. However, but the point is they're persistent and consistent with it. So interviews are a huge thing. I'm going to pull up my pictures again. So you had the conversations with the spouse, the parenting. Peer pressure is something that's kind of funny with that. Coworkers. So the thing I think that most people don't notice when they're selling themselves is in the topic of karma. And this is the last one I want to hit before we go into prep for this. So Shane's like, ooh, what does this mean? What is he talking about? So when I see a lot of people that are doing, multi-level marketing, so doing their at business from home, things like that, or you'll notice they make a lot of posts to get people interacting, right? So they get them commenting on their posts like, "Hey,
Hmm.
should I cut my hair? Should I not cut my hair?" And they'll do things with questions that are easy for them to comment on. And then they'll also try to get them interacting with them more often so they can build that relationship, right? Because if they're giving them positive feedback, and then when they do that, they give them positive feedback like, "Oh, you're looking awesome. Yes, you should do this." There's a lot of subtle things you can do where it's building rapport with somebody, and or it's getting them to want to come back for more because you have that positive influence, and that positive influence gives you good karma back, right? So then when you actually go to pitch something that's product related and or service related, they bite for it because they're like, "Oh, Shane always comments on my stuff, and he's always positive, and he's always doing this. He volunteers for this. He helps me do this with my workouts and my financial planning, and he doesn't even ask for anything in return. Yes, I want to buy the product." And that's the kind of thing that some people don't realize is even happening is behind, and people that are doing it may not even realize they're doing it. So you want to people please. So people that are people pleasers, right? They tend to have good karma come back to them. So they have to find that happy medium where they stop pleasing people in the detriment to themselves. But
Hmm.
if they're getting people on their side and they're working with people cohesively, you'll notice that that favor usually gets returned back full force
Yeah.
and then some. That's just something I've always noticed.
Yeah. So a principle of reciprocity, right? So if I give you something, your subconscious incline from like caveman nature is going to be, oh, he gave me something. I have to return that. I
Mm-hmm.
am in his debt now, right? This is why when you come into the gym, like we give you like a free shaker cup and a free little gift bag and a free little goodie bag, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because now you feel like I gave you something. So now you're more inclined to want to give me something or be more open to what I'm telling you.
Yep.
Okay. And the more that that goes, right? Like think about when you go to a new like internet website. What's the first thing that pops up when you've never been to that website? Here's your first time discount code, right? They
Yep.
immediately give you something. And what do you think? Like subconsciously, you don't even think about it. You're like, oh, I'm way more likely to buy something now because they already gave me something and they don't even know me.
Heck yeah.
That's that good karma. And the more that you compound that, okay, so think of it like from the social media that we have going on right now. Okay. There's so many like talented people that are putting out tons of content and tons of information and just giving stuff to people for free and free and free for years and years and years. And then when they leverage themselves where they have such a following of, hey, I've been putting out stuff for years. And then they go to, hey, now here's something that I'm marketing. Hey, here's my product. Here's my business, whatever it is. That following is like, yes, absolutely. You gave me so much value for nothing for so many years. I'm not even going to think about it.
They don't even ask
Whatever you're doing,
questions.
I want a part of.
Yeah. It's like
Mm-hmm.
it's like a cult following. It's like, no, everything you've done is so phenomenal that yes, now I'm bought into this. And
You know?
I mean, case in point, as funny as it sounds, this podcast is literally doing that exact thing. And I know it's doing it because you know it's doing it because we're in the field, right? But the whole point is to get information out to help people. And how
Yeah.
can I help somebody that is free of cost to them? But then the people that truly want that extra touch and that personalized approach and other things like that, when there's a product that comes up that they want to take advantage of, it's there. And they already have the sense of, oh, this individual knows what they're talking about. They know what they're doing. I want to be a part of this. And
Yeah.
that's what I love about it. So when it comes to, I think it's pretty obvious as to why everybody's a salesperson. Do you have any other stories that are like personal life, like people that you wouldn't think were in sales, like that was just a cool story that would kind of cement that?
I mean, I think people just get so caught up in like what sales is without thinking about it, right?
Mm.
Like everybody in their life has bought a car. And when you go to the dealership, do you just look at the sticker price and you're like, yeah, okay, that's fine? Nobody does that. Everybody tries to haggle. Everybody tries to negotiate on
Hopefully
everything,
everybody
right?
does.
Okay. that's selling. Like everything is selling. Like you trying to get somebody to come to your party or come to your event is selling. You trying to get somebody to be your friend is selling. Like it's literally selling. Just comes down to influence. It's hey,
There you go.
here's my idea. I want to influence you to align to what my idea is. Okay. So think about what's going on in the world right now, right? Presidential election. Okay. What do you think they are trying to do when they go on these campaigns? They are
Influence.
selling you on their ideas, and it's influence, right? Hey, here's my policies. Here's why I'm a better fit than Trump.
Yep.
Here's why I'm a better fit for America than Biden.
Yep.
Believe in my ideas. Let me influence you with my ideas. That's what sales is.
There's so much influence and manipulation in politics, and the funny thing is on that side, that's a whole different spectrum. But like, it's manipulative and sales. And when I say the word manipulation, it really comes down to what's your intent, right? Is your intent to better
influence
somebody?
versus manipulation?
Exactly.
Right?
And
same end result, but two different where it's coming from.
Exact same end result. So people have a hard time kind of dissecting which one's which. And that's where, in my opinion, as a salesperson, I always thought there were two kinds of salespeople. So, and this is something that's kind of a offshoot topic, but I always thought there was car salesmen and what I called finesse salesmen. The car salesman was really dirty. It was really pushy, in your face, like, oh, can you see yourself in this car? It's going to be so awesome. You're going to get all the chicks. Why won't you do it? It's awesome, and they're just like in your face kind of
today only special.
Today only,
walk off this dealership.
$10,000 off. You're going to look so good. And it's like, whoa, bro. And then you have the people that are the finesse salesmen, right? And I look at the car salesman prospect as more of the manipulative side. Like, hey, I'm going to play off of your fears. I'm going to play off of your insecurities and your emotions, and I'm going to hammer those home. And then the finesse salesman goes, hey, and this is the type that I like, because to me it's more, I don't know. It just, one, I'm a good person and I don't like to be a dick, right? Don't be a dick. Check out my book. My website's in my bio. So that was my
segue.
That was my 2-second segue. But the other side is finesse, right? So finesse is, hey, you have a problem. I have a solution, and I want to show you why it's the best solution. And they build value on that. So politics, probably more manipulative, maybe some informative, some influence. And then there's the other side. So going into preparation. Because I think there's a lot of good information that we need to give people in a short time frame, and yes, 2 hours or less is short, right? So how do we give? Because there's a lot. Like, I could talk about this for 8 hours probably. So within this time frame, when you look at, because I know how I look at preparation. By the way, guys, I did not ask him about any of this before the call. When you look at preparation, because this is something that's important to you, how do you approach that? So when you're looking at whether it's something in your personal life or business, how do you approach preparing for a sales conversation?
Sure. So it all comes down to like systematic process, which is literally like what I built a lot of my career on was developing sales process and then teaching that sales process to be able to be replicated by people that weren't as good at sales, right? So if I just walk into like every consult, every client meeting, whatever it is, and I'm like, all right, here we go. Roll the dice. Let's see what happens. Right? Okay. Regardless of the results, if it goes good, I'm not going to know why.
Yeah.
I'm just going to be like, okay, cool. Got one. All right. If it goes bad, again, I'm not going to know why. I'm just going to be like, oh, that guy just was messed up. It's his fault that he didn't want to. No. Okay. The outcome is completely in your control. All right. Win or lose, right? That's in your control.
How many people do you think are out of your control before we go forward?
So let's say you go into 10 people, 3 of them, regardless of how good you do, okay, are just going to be like, no. Okay. And it's the mindset, right? It's the, hey, I have too much of an ego to be open to other people's ideas.
So you need to be ready for that.
You can't influence, right? If somebody's closed in their mind, how can I influence to open their mind if they're not willing to hear what I have to say?
You can't.
It's impossible.
Yep.
Right? It's not going to happen. Okay. That's why nobody, regardless of how good of a salesperson you are, nobody has 100% closing ratio.
Yep.
Okay.
I
Like I've
wish.
got like 50 to 60%. So I feel good about that. All right. But you're
I
always
like
going to
60.
have
That's my goal.
60 is good. Okay. Because you're going to look on the spectrum 10 people, three, absolutely not, closed minded, can't influence. Okay. Three, 100%. Okay. I'm already warmed up to it. I already want to do this. Okay. All you have to do is ask and not show yourself to be a dick.
Hey,
Right.
buy the book. I'm just kidding. Continue.
So those are literally 30% is just don't mess it up. Okay.
Yeah.
What separates the average or the good from the great is what you do with those middle five.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And that's what we're
The
going to talk
people
about.
that aren't really into the, hey, absolutely, I'm for whatever you have to say, but they're also not closed minded. The middle ground. Okay. That's where the influence happens. Okay. And that's why you have to prepare. And that's why you have to have a process in place. Okay.
Oh, I'm
So from
excited
the
for
minute
this.
that I have an appointment in my calendar, okay, I'm not just walking into that appointment of who this person is and find out who they are by that appointment. I'm already doing my research. Okay. Who is this person? Right? What's their demographic? Do they have a family? How old are they? Okay. I'm already like finding out the information so that I can identify like their possible needs and their situation.
Yeah.
Right? Before I go into it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because how I talk to somebody that's 35 years old, that's married and has two kids, and how I talk to somebody that's 20 and single right out of college, very different conversations. Okay.
Yep.
Regardless of what the product is, very
How is
different
it different?
conversations.
So elaborate on that. So what do you think would be some differences if you took those two scenarios?
So let's talk about what's important to them. Okay. Let's start with that. All right. Married with two kids, what is important to them? Their
Well,
family.
married and two kids right here.
Right.
So I'm going to say my family. I'm going to say
Uh-huh.
finances and making sure I'm stable there. Having a sense of consistency. Um,
Uh-huh.
Working
But
out
why do you care about that stuff? Why do
because
you
I
care about your finances and your consistency?
because my family is more important than I am.
Yeah, because of I have to take care of for the family, right? Because I'm the provider and I have to take care of my family.
Mm-hmm.
So this stuff's important to me.
Yep.
If I have no dependencies and I'm 20 and young, okay, what does somebody that's 20 and young tend to do? I'm living for the right now. I have nobody relying on me. Everything that I earn is going to my fun and enjoyment.
So 20 years from now doesn't matter to me because it's just me.
Exactly.
Yep.
Okay. I'm not looking at what's going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years when I meet my wife by fate, when I walk to Hawaii and meet her on vacation. Okay. I'm not looking at any of that. Right. I'm looking at right now and I'm the only one that matters. Okay. So if I want to change something and I want to accomplish something when I'm 20 and single, it's for my own motivations.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you're never going to hear I have to talk to my wife because I don't care about my wife. I don't have a wife. Everything that you hear from somebody that's 20 is their own internal fears or their own internal needs.
Yep.
Very different conversation.
Very different.
So preparation on who you're talking to beforehand, okay? You're setting that up with confirmation call, okay? I'm trying to literally already build touches and already build relationship before I even meet with that person.
So how do you build the
Right?
relationship, right? So when we and this is something that I can give input on as well
Mm-hmm.
because I mean, this is what's kind of cool about having two people on the call is we may do things completely differently and get to the same result. And that's why I like
Sure.
having this because we don't know what's going to come up. So on your end, when you have a prospect or an individual that you need to approach, what's how do you look at that?
Yeah. So let's look at it. It's different regardless of in the business that you're in, right? Let's talk
Mm-hmm.
about when I was at Lifetime. It's literally, hey, I'm the member onboarding manager. My job is to onboard every single member. People are just packed in my schedule without me having to do anything,
Yep. That's really
right?
nice,
Okay.
isn't it?
Yeah, it's different. Okay. But yeah, like it's different. I'm the expert to help all these people to get onboarded the way. Okay. So I could easily just sit back and just like wait at the front desk and like, hey, Sally Jones is coming in and I'm going to see who Sally Jones is and figure it out on the spot. Okay. It's not how I did it. All right.
You
I want
can't.
to know everything about Sally Jones before Sally Jones shows up to the desk. Okay. For two main reasons. One, how I'm going to handle that session when Sally Jones is there is going to be based on what I learn about Sally Jones.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then two, if I build a relationship with Sally Jones before her appointment time, guess how much that impacts her likelihood of showing up?
Oh my gosh! What? Okay, sorry. That was exactly my train of thought. And it was mind-boggling. Okay, so I hope Jake Booth is on here right now. Jake Booth, if you're on here, comment again, because this is something that I think we had to drill home. Because Jake commented, by the way, he said, so much passion from two amazing professionals. And I said, I love him. But one of the things that is hugely important is your conversations beforehand. How many people do you think, and I know this is relevant to fitness, right? And it's not every field, but this has correlating information, right? So this works both ways in all other fields as well. How many trainers do you think actually called and physically spoke to and got to know their people coming in before they actually showed up? If you had to just throw a percentage out there, just like in the wind, what would it be?
10%.
I would say 10
Maybe.
to 15%. That was my number, 10 to 15%. And I guarantee that the 10 to 15% that made those calls, that made an effort, and guys, this is the point of this whole entire part of this call, is those that made an effort to truly give a shit and get to know the individual in front of them prior to having the actual sales conversation, I guarantee those are the people that are the highest grossing sales performers in the entire company. I guarantee it. Sorry, continue.
Oh, absolutely. And you want to say, like, out of those 10%, most of them, the call probably sounds like this. Hey, Sally, I got you scheduled at Friday at 2 p.m. Just wanted to confirm that that appointment's still going to work for you.
Oh my God, don't do it.
Yeah, I'll be there.
What are you, a
Okay, bye,
doctor?
Sally.
Are you a doctor, Shane? Like, I'm
That's
not
my point.
You're showing up whether you like it or not. Like, no, hey, Shane, it's Brian from Lifetime. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you, Brian?
I was going to say, thank you. Follow along with this. I'm great. Thank you for asking. Hey, I just wanted to spend a little bit of time. Do you have a couple minutes?
Sure.
I
I'm
wanted to
free.
get to know you a little bit because obviously this session is important to me because I want to make sure I customize your experience when you're with us. Tell me a little bit about you. What kind of guy? And so anyway, I'm going to go into what got them going, why that's important to them, why. Guys, write this down. Why. WHY for those of you that graduated from college and still can't spell. WHY. That is the most important thing, is not what, because and this is a whole different segue. We're probably going to go off topic a little bit, but what somebody needs to feel. So sales is this. This is sales. I have an issue. You have a solution. What is the problem is the start of it, right? So what is the problem? I'm fat. I've had people say that to me. They're like, Brian, I'm fat as fuck, and I need to fix that. Okay, let's dig into that a little bit, right? What are the issues that have caused that, right? So were you always that way? Is this something that's new? Okay. Is it something that, came up because of stress? Did you have something happen in your life? Did you have an accident? And really dig deep. Awesome. How does that make you feel? What would make you feel good? And dig into the why and really get into that deep core. Why am I doing this podcast tonight with Shane? Like, why is Shane on the other side of this freaking podcast call? Because, one, I love Shane. Two, I like doing podcasts because I have fun with it. Three, because I wanted to give information to people that allowed them to learn and have success in their own world. Because when I see somebody that maybe has a hard time getting that, and then they get the aha moment in their head that goes, the light pops, and they're like, yes, I get it. That, to me, is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. And Shane was the same way. He called me, guys. Shane called me, and he said, Brian, I miss educating people. I miss giving them information. We need to find a way for me to be able to do this again, right, Shane? And it was like, you want to come on my podcast? Let's do it. And so if you get that why, that's huge. Okay, so continue. Preparation. I'm sorry. I digress.
Yeah, and it's not just the why of like why they would join the gym, right?
Yeah.
Like let's take it another step. Why are they in my schedule? Why are they scheduled with a trainer, right? If you're not finding that out on your initial call, because they have that option, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And what they say, because sometimes, like, I'm not gonna say it from everybody, but sometimes it's because they told me I had to. Okay.
I've heard that one
That's
before.
going to change how I do that session. That's going to change my conversation, right?
So
So
input changes your output.
100%. Okay. Because how their mind is operating, if they're walking into my session and not thinking it as an opportunity for me to help them, but as something that's an obligation that they have to do to be a member, that's going to drastically change how they receive anything I say, right? So I have to already overcome that, or my chance of being able to influence it all is out the window.
So when you're talking to somebody, so if we bring this into general knowledge instead of fitness, if somebody feels like they're obligated to have to
Mm-hmm.
talk to you, there is a lot less likely that that person is willing to be influenced or listen to what you have to say. Is that how I'm hearing that?
100%. Yep.
Okay.
100%. In any situation, regardless of what your product or business is. Okay. So if you have some kind of process where it's like, hey, they have to get through you for whatever reason to have a consult or have a meeting with you, and it's not something that they're willingly wanting to do, so they don't see the value in the time of that you're giving them, then you're literally going to come from it as that used car salesman, regardless of how good you do.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they're going to see it,
Yep.
because they feel like they have to do that. Not something that's, oh my God, this is the most phenomenal trainer ever that's going to literally give me the plan to change my life for the long term.
Yep.
That's so much value that I'm getting for free just for being a member of Lifetime or Genesis or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If they don't walk into that session as the value of what this trainer can do for me, and they walk in as, oh, I got to go to this training session. Okay. It's very different conversations. That's very different sessions. And if you don't know that ahead of time and you just come out like thinking like, hey, this is just going to be a normal session, they're excited to see me. And within 30 seconds, you learn because you haven't done your homework ahead of time, you're already fucked. You just wasted an hour.
Yep. Game over right there because you're not prepared
Mm-hmm.
for that.
Yep. And
So
your credibility just went down the drain.
completely because you came in unprepared. And
Yep.
so your ability to adapt is another whole big thing. So when you think you have something right, and that's the thing about preparation is that if you don't do the preparation, you can't come into it with any sort of game plan whatsoever. And then it's just a crapshoot. Like, is this going to be good? Is it going to be bad? I don't know. Versus the preparation side, if you get to know them, get to know their goals, get to know their why, get to know what their issues are, get to know how you can build value with that person, get to know what they like to do, get to know what makes them tick. The 5 love languages. It's 5, right? Am I getting that right?
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
that was something that a good friend of mine had an issue with. He got into a divorce because him and his spouse had completely different love languages and they weren't willing to learn about the other person's and they weren't willing to adapt to accommodate that love language in order to make that other person feel special. What ended up happening? They both were not satisfied in the relationship and they got into a divorce. So, guys, when you look at this from a personal life perspective, this is huge. This isn't just business. This isn't just sales. This is real life. This is people,
Yeah.
this is your life. This is people having relationships that get broken apart because they don't know how to approach a given scenario or situation. I am fully I'm going to back up. I do think that everything happens for a reason. However, I am fully committed to the idea that if they had been able to reflectively look at that from the right perspective and ask the right questions and be prepared, they probably could have saved that relationship.
Yeah.
But they didn't.
It's
And
people.
it's all
Like, it's
about.
understanding people, right?
Mhm.
It's communication and people. Like, regardless of what the product or business is, it's not a, hey, I'm in the training business. It's not a, hey, I'm in the financial business. It's, I'm in the people business because I deal with people,
Mhm.
right? It's the same thing. It's just different products. Okay. The same thing with love, the same thing with marriage, right? The reason that different love languages don't correlate is if my love language is I want admiration and I want gifts or whatever it is, that's how I give love because that's how I feel loved.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So if I'm giving gifts to my wife, but she wants me to do acts of service and put away dishes and stuff to make her job easier, and I'm just giving her stuff, she's not seeing that as love. So she's not seeing that I love her.
You know your love languages.
100%.
He's read the book. 100%. That's hilarious. That's awesome. Because you're like gifts and acts of service. I was like, holy crap, he knows love languages. That's awesome. Because it has to do with what we're talking about. So if you had to pick a couple of just high-level things, if you said, Brian, if I took nothing else away from this, and I was like, hey, and we'll dive into them. What are the high-level things that you think are important for preparation? So if you had to, let's just say top five.
Sure.
What are the things that you think are the most important?
So look at every step of the process, okay? So it's like, hey, I just have this appointment or I have to get this appointment, okay? So that initial call, right? To either, hey, this appointment's in my calendar or I have to set this appointment, okay? So how am I preparing for this initial call? So look at my business now. It's not, hey, somebody's just plugged into my schedule. It's, hey, I'm referred to somebody that I have to reach out to.
Yep.
Very different situation, right? But when I get, hey, here's John Smith, you should call John Smith. I'm not just blindly calling John Smith, okay? Before I call John Smith, I've asked my client already, hey, tell me about John Smith. Does John Smith have kids, okay? What do you know about John Smith? Why are you wanting me to reach out to John Smith, okay? Why do you think he'd find value in the work that we're doing, all right? I already know everything about John Smith before I call John Smith. So then guess what happens when I call John, okay? Hey, Alex told me to call you, right? Because you are like-minded people. You have a wife and you got another baby on the way here, John, okay? I hear that you're wanting to start your own business next year, actually, okay? Let me tell you a little bit about the strategies that I'm working with right now to really overcome what's going on in the economy with this crazy corona right now. Do you know that bonds are less than 1%, which used to be our safe money for retirement? What's your thought process on safe money here, John? What are you doing for that? I already have John engaged. I'm already relevant. John wants to talk to me now. So guess what my chance of setting John with an appointment goes to?
Much, much higher. Versus if you didn't know anything about John, it'd be like, hey, John, Bob referred me to you, and he said that I could tell you a little bit about what I have to do and how I can help you. And he's like, go fuck yourself.
Yeah. You know the difference in those two conversations? The difference is, hey, John, I'm trying to sell you something. I'm a financial advisor and I want to sell you products versus, hey, John, I can help you and I'm extremely relevant to your specific situation.
Boom.
This is why you want to take time with me.
Hold on a sec. Hold on. This is my mic. I just dropped it because that was a mic drop moment. If you're watching right now, write that down. And I said this on the Subtle Art of Sales page. If you are starting from an intention of making a sale, you are already failing. Write that down again. What is that? Oh, if you're trying to make a sale, you're already failing. You already suck at life. Go home, find a different job, go work at McDonald's. By the way, if you're working at McDonald's, I am completely okay with that. Great. Learn some skill sets and then find your passion. And if McDonald's is your passion, continue it. So, but that's so huge, is that you have to come from the mind. It's all about a mindset. How are you approaching that? Are you approaching it from the fact that, hey, I need to make a sale? Or are you approaching it from the fact that, hey, I need to change this person's life? And in order to change this person's life, I need to know more about them. Continue.
Yeah, 100%. So that's your initial,
mm-hmm.
right? Okay. So from there, now you have the meeting on your calendar. Okay. So between now and when I have John scheduled 5 days from now, what am I doing? And am I just blindly assuming that John's going to show up? No. How can I get more touches in? How can I build more value? How can I become more relevant to John along the way? Right? The more times that I can have interaction and communication and touches with somebody, okay, 7 touch rule, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. Okay. The more likely they are to be able to take influence and say yes to whatever it is that I'm trying to help them with. Okay. So if the first time that I ask is the time that I meet with John, what do you think your chance of making that sale is going to be?
A lot lower.
Right. Okay. So if before I even meet with John, I can already get 3 or 4 touches in and already build so much value, John's going to keep that meeting way more likely. Okay. Because he sees my time as valuable and I'm relevant that I can help him.
Heck
Okay.
yeah.
And I've already built a relationship with John before we even have our meeting. So that's your pre-meeting prep.
Yep.
Okay. What are your touches in between?
Yep.
Whether it's email, whether it's contact points, I always prefer conversations. Okay. Because just through email, you lose 97% of communication through just words, through just
I
looking at
can't do
words.
nonverbal. It drives me nuts.
You get nothing. You get
I
no emotion,
there's your
right?
key right there. Is I love nonverbal, and that was actually a strong point of mine. But I hated doing it in sales because there was no emotion tied to it, and
Mm-hmm.
that's another big point. Ding ding ding. Hey, I need to have some sort of like cue or sound where if there's a
Like
highlighted
a
point,
buzzer.
like buzzer, "Brrrt," get your notepad out, write this down. This is one of those moments. If you don't have emotion involved, it's probably not something as important as if it was. So you don't get emotion through nonverbal. At least it's a lot harder to do so.
Yeah,
Continue.
100%. You only get 7% of communication through the words. Okay. And then if I read the words, how I'm going to interpret those words is very different from probably the intent
Mm-hmm.
that was interpreted from those words, right? Because I don't see you, I don't see your reactions, and I don't hear your emotion, and I don't hear your inflation.
Yep.
I don't hear your tone. Okay, so I can interpret that very different depending on how my mind works versus how your mind works,
It makes
right?
a yep. Makes a
Mm-hmm.
huge difference.
Always try and get face-to-face interaction, like even through Zoom, even through verbal. Through here, like this is as good as it gets without being in person, right? Because I can see your reaction, I can see your emotion, I can hear your tone and inflection. Okay. That's why I do most of my meetings through a virtual, right? I'm not just doing it over the phone. Even over the phone, like when we just talk over the phone, it's hard to still pick up on a lot of those cues. Plus, you're way more distracted. You're doing something else, multitasking, etc. Okay. Through an email, even worse.
It's way worse. And I actually read a book recently from an ex FBI agent that would interview people. And the whole entire book is talking about nonverbal cues. So it talks
Mm-hmm.
about what parts of the body give people away the most. But that's a huge thing. And that's one of the chapters in my book is the 3 V's, right? So you have the 3 V's of communication and it talks about the percentages. And then one of the things I go into is how that's kind of changing as the dynamic of communication changes with technology and things like that.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how that changes. But one of the things that'll never change is the face-to-face interaction, the ability to really read somebody. So right now, as we're sitting here talking, I can look at you on my screen and look at your nonverbal cues and know whether or not you're engaged or not. Know if you're agreeing with what I have to say, whether your head's going like this or like this. I already know how you're engaging with what I am speaking about because I can see your eyes and how that changes. I can only see your upper body right now, up to about right here. But if I could see your legs and your feet and how they're positioned, I could talk about that as well. And this book was just so cool. It was so eye opening. Side note, what do you think, if I can recall correctly, what do you think which part of your body do you think gives you away the most non-verbally?
uh, so I would say one of two things. It's either going to be like your eyes of where you're looking, so
Mm-hmm.
where you're engaged with.
Okay.
Okay. Uh, or I would say your arms, because like where your posture and where your arms are going tells a lot of your engagement, whether it's crossed and whether it's closed off, okay, or whether it's withdrawn and where you're facing.
So you want to hear the funny part? I'm glad that you answered that way. It's actually your legs and your feet.
Like where your hips are facing?
So where your feet
Is
are
that it?
pointing, so your posture stance, so where your feet are placed, are they crossed behind your chair? Are they up and in front of you? Because the way that your legs are placed tells me how comfortable you are with the situation. If you're comfortable with speaking to me, look at your legs right now, right at this moment. Where are they at?
Yeah. Out to the sides in line with my shoulder.
So they're in lines with your
Just
shoulders.
normal.
Are they flat?
Mm-hmm.
So that means you're comfortable with talking to me. You're not in a preparation mode to get ready to fight or flight. You're not. So people that are uncomfortable tend to cross their legs or they'll pull their feet back behind their chair and they'll prep their soles of their feet to get ready to get up without even realizing they're doing it.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
us as human beings, when we're growing up, we're told to respect our elders, right? We're told to put on a facade for people, like be respectful of other people, be polite. And so our faces and our upper body are so used to presenting a facade of what we should feel versus what we actually feel. So it puts up this facade, and we're so used to using the upper half of our body to manipulate how people interact with us, but our lower half, we don't train that as kids. So
That makes sense.
it's something that gives us away. So it's kind of funny. So to your point, I know that was a little tangent, a little knowledge for you guys. When you watch your clients or you're watching people that you talk to, watch read the, I'll actually put the book. I'll comment on what book it is when I get upstairs tonight because I can't remember the name of the book. Um, my cousin actually let me read it. It's really good. But it's your lower half of your body that actually gives you away, not your upper half. So, and it was cool. He would tell stories. He would tell stories about how he caught people that had murdered people, that had done all these heinous crimes. And it wasn't their words that gave them away, obviously. It wasn't their eyes, even though I think you have something with the eyes. I think eyes are very good at, if people don't know how to hone in on what they're putting off, I think a lot of people inherently their eyes will drift if they're not paying attention or they're not interested. They'll start to look
Yeah.
to the side or they'll look to the distance versus being trained on you. Like I'm looking at you right now, straight on. I don't know if you can tell this, but I'm looking right at your eyes.
I'm
Um,
used to like the glaze eyes. Like
they're
that's
glazed.
especially from in person. Like I
Hmm.
can tell like when I'm talking too much and when I lose somebody
Yeah.
and when I have to draw them back in to re-engage them, like from the eyes.
Another thing that's huge, I think. So I actually wrote this down. I don't write down a lot, guys, because I don't want to script anything on the call. But there's 5 things that I wanted to bring up that were relevant to this, and then we'll kind of let you roll through the rest of yours. One of the things is active listening and being able to pay attention to cues like that. And this is what everything we just talked about for the last 5 minutes is how do you pay attention to somebody active listening wise to know how they're engaging with you? When that engagement starts to shift, how can you pull them back in? To Shane's point, how do you pull somebody back in that's starting to glaze over and that you're losing? Because if you can tell you're losing them, you're like, okay, I need to get them re-engaged. I need to have them talk more. I need to actively listen. And how do you build that rapport to keep them engaged? So I think that's a huge thing. So, and this is stuff you can use in your day-to-day life, right? So building rapport gets people to like you. Active listening, nobody active listens anymore. I mean, Shane's doing active listening right now, and he's just listening to what I have to say, right? And he's going to speak on it and talk about things that are relevant. Goal setting, objection handling. So all these things are relevant to your day-to-day life. So back to the things that are huge for you for preparation. You talked about the initial, what are you going to do beforehand? So you already know a lot about this individual before you even talk to him.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, you're going to have that initial consultation and you're going to go through all that. Continue where you left off.
Yeah. So now that I've already built a lot of relationship and value into the appointment, now how do I prepare for the actual appointment?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I would say that this really comes twofold of like, hey, what is like my systematic process of what am I trying to accomplish in a
Yep.
consult type of appointment? Okay. So what kind of result do I want to get out of that appointment? What's the goal? What's the intention? Okay. How do I ask the right questions to get the right responses to move that direction in whatever that line is going to be? Okay.
Yep.
So prepare ahead of time. It's not, hey, I'm just going in and hey, I'm just going to see how the conversation goes and see what he wants to talk about. Like, no, I already have an agenda.
Yep.
Right. And when I'm putting together these questions of how I'm asking, I ask in a way to get the answers that I know that I need to get.
So
Does
how
that
do you
make
do that?
sense?
Yeah, how do you do that?
So,
Putting you on the spot. Putting you
so
on the spot.
uh, think of it like this, okay? If from a fitness perspective, okay,
Okay.
I know that I need to get like what their history is,
Mm-hmm.
okay? So, what have they done in the past? Okay. What do they want to accomplish now?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Have they ever tried to accomplish that before? And what was the result? Okay. All
Yep.
right. Their why, per se, that's a big one. Okay. Why do they want to accomplish this? Right. So I want to lose 50 pounds. Okay. I have to figure out why you want to lose 50 pounds. If I just straight up ask you why you want to lose 50 pounds, my chance is probably 25% you're going to give me the real answer.
Oh
Right.
yeah.
On the first time, like maybe 25%. Okay. So a lot of times, like people would shadow me all the times, and they would be like, "You're rephrasing a lot of the same things to get the same answer." I'm like, "Yeah, I have to ask him multiple times to get the answer that I know that I need."
Mm-hmm.
Right? Do you know why I phrase things that way? People don't believe what I tell them. People believe what they say. Right? So if you say, "Hey, I need a trainer because I failed a dozen times before and I've never been able to do this on my own and I need somebody to help me," you already sold yourself. Okay? Because you believe it.
What? So hold on a second. Rewind. So you're
Mm-hmm.
telling me that in order to be effective at sales, the person that is the client or the prospect is the one selling themselves.
100%.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I didn't know that. I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna write. Hold on a sec. Let me write this down. So okay. So this is good. So dig into that a little bit. So how back up just a little bit. So and that's because this is very important. This is my where's my ding dong here? Ding dong. Why is so the people that do a great job at sales make the person that's in front of them sell themselves. And it's not coercive, so to speak, like you said. You didn't coerce your wife to move to Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
You had a value proposition and you opened their eyes to the fact that they do need this help and that they've tried and that maybe she does want to be with you. Maybe she hasn't found the right person before in the past and that maybe making a change of scenery is going to help her out, you know? Maybe and I don't know what was going on in her head obviously because I'm not her, but there was something that you said or did that triggered that thought in her mind of, yeah, I should do this.
Yeah.
And that's that aha moment that where they sell themselves and go, yes, I need this. To your point, I've done this before. If you can get them to say, hey, I've done this 10 times before and I failed because of A, B, C, and D, and these were the roadblocks, and this is the roadblock that I need to overcome now, and this is how you as an individual, as a trainer, can fix that. That's where you come into play.
Because then I'm just, hey, here's your solution that you said that you needed.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Here's the plan. You said you needed this. Here's your plan. Right?
And then you
How
go,
easy
yes or
is
no,
that to
you ready to
overcome?
do this?
Yeah.
Easy as that.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
So that's why, like, everything leads up to that, right? Because if I didn't do any of my preparation, if I didn't build my relationship, if I didn't know who this person was, how am I phrasing my questions to really get to what they need? Right? Does that make sense? Because the questions I asked the 20-year-old single guy
Mm-hmm.
is different than the questions I asked the 35-year-old married guy.
So the context
Right?
and the verbiage is obviously different depending on who you're talking to.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yep. And I know, like, from the situation and from the demographic going into that appointment, I know, like, a rough idea, like a general idea of what they're really going to need because what's important to them.
Yep.
Right. So let's take it into perspective of my current situation. Okay. I'm a financial advisor. Okay. I can do everything. Right. But my 20-year-old guy is going to be way more interested in how I can help him make more money and grow more money, investments, savings, etc., stuff like that, than life insurance and risk management.
Mm-hmm.
Because if he dies, he doesn't need life insurance. He has no beneficiaries or nobody that's dependent on his income.
Yep.
Right? My 35-year-old guy with 2 kids, more than him making money, I have to make sure he's properly insured. Because if he gets hit by a bus tomorrow and his family and his wife and kids are left without anything and they're on the streets to scrounge and she's a single mom trying to make 40 grand a year to support the kids in the household, very different situations.
You're playing on my emotions right now. If I die tomorrow, I need life insurance, dude. Like, no, but seriously, you just did, like, that's what we're talking about, is the emotional aspect. You're playing your cards to the right field. I'm emotionally tied to supporting my family. The 20-year-old is emotionally tied to, how do I make as much money as possible?
Yep. And I'm not going to ask the same questions for the same person.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because I know what answers I need to get from the 20-year-old, and I know what answers I need to get from the 35-year-old. Okay? I know that I need them to get to say, hey, I don't have enough insurance in place. Hey, I don't have a plan in place. Hey, if I get hit by a bus tomorrow, I don't know how my family's going to take care of themselves. I need to get to those answers so that they have that aha, like, oh, I'm underinsured. Oh, I'm at a lot of risk. Oh, my family's not safe. Right? My 20-year-old, I need him to get to the point of like, oh, time is money. The sooner that I start saving and investing and let that compound interest work for me, the wealthier I'm going to be and the more it's going to change my future. If I just keep blowing on the alcohol $200 or $300 a weekend and just living in the moment and wait till I'm 30 to start investing, it's going to cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Mm-hmm. Literally.
Like, if you just invest $200 a month for 10 years and never do it again, you will retire a millionaire. But that's if you start when you're 20.
Yeah.
That's the difference. If you start when you're 30, you're looking $600 plus a month.
Yep.
For the rest of your life. That's the time. It's not the amount, it's the time of letting that compound interest work for you.
Yep.
So my young professionals, what do you think I talk about? Time. Not how much you can save, it's you need to get started yesterday with something.
Yeah. Anything.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
My older people, I'm not saying, hey, you should have seen me 10 years ago. Even though really you should.
You should
right?
have, but yeah.
I can't change that. Okay. But I'm focusing on what can I do right now that's going to change your future.
Yep.
Is make sure that you have the proper risk in place for what's important to you. Because if you talk about a 35-year-old that has 2 kids, is it more important that his family's taken care of or that he retires a millionaire?
His family's taken care of.
Family. 100% every single time.
Yep.
He's not thinking of my personal situation and me living an extravagant lifestyle and I need to save and invest. Like, that's nice, but only if the family is taken care of first.
I like that. Close it out. Is there anything else stepwise that you do in preparation?
The preparation, like, other than that, would just be having an ironed out, like, process of I know what works.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
So I'm not just going on a whim. It's like, hey, I've done this time and time again through experience of like, hey, I know these questions are going to get the answers that I need. Hey, I know that running through XYZ in this systematic order is going to get the results that I need. Mm. It's going to pry the real answers from people, because that's the hardest part, right? Is how do I get the real answers? If somebody doesn't want to give me the real answers, like, I don't just ask a question once and be like, oh, they're not going to open up to me. Okay, let's move on and let's get nowhere and let's waste this hour. No, how do I get to the real answer? Like, I know the answer that I need to get from you for this to be productive. So how do I rephrase the questions and remove the conversation to get you to open up in the way that you need to? Okay. And if you haven't built the rapport, and if you haven't built the relationship, and if you haven't built the trust, because if you don't like me and you don't trust me, you're not going to give me the real answers.
I'm not going to tell you squat.
100%. Right? Okay. So if I can walk into an appointment, you like me, you trust me, and you see me as an expert, when I ask you a question, you're more likely to give me a real answer. If I can get real answers,
write that down.
My position to be able to actually help you goes up drastically.
So write that down.
Otherwise, I'm just throwing a dart and hoping it's 6.
Like you, trust you. What was the third thing? If you like me, trust me,
Relationship.
and relationship. And if you build a
Yep.
relationship.
Yep.
Because if I don't like you or I don't trust you, everything else goes out the window. So everything we talked about tonight, none of that matters unless the person in front of you likes you and trusts you. And that includes in your personal relationships. If your coworkers, your interviewer, your spouse, your kids, if they don't like you and trust you, it makes it extremely hard to convince them to have a train of thought or go into one of the topics I have in my book is the book or the movie Inception, right? So the idea of planting a thought inside of somebody's mind. Have you seen the movie Inception, Shane? Okay.
Yeah.
So the idea, that movie to me was fascinating. So I want to go through that concept. That concept is in my book, and I go through why it's important and relevant. And then we'll kind of recap everything tonight. But the concept of Inception, and for those of you that haven't seen the movie, is that when they go into the movie, they're planting a dream into somebody's head, and they want that person to basically come out of that dream with some ideas or some things that they want to do from the dream because it feels so real that they're like, oh, I've had an epiphany. I want to change something. And in the movie, they're trying to get into this guy's head and they go into a dream within a dream within a dream. And it feels so real that he feels like he organically came up with the idea. So, in regards to sales, you want that goal. You want somebody to trust you. You want somebody to like you. In order to do that, you have to be genuine. You have to know about that individual. You have to know what their issues are, what they've had to do to overcome it, where they failed, where they succeeded. And you have to be able to plant an idea so deep into their head that it feels like that they personally came up with that idea and said, yes, this is the thing that I need to fix it. And then you're the person and you're the thing that they need to fix it. If you have done that and they go, hey, I want to buy. So like the very first onboarding session I did at Lifetime was with a gal that I still talk to a lot. And I didn't even know how to sell it. And she was like, yeah, I'm ready to buy. Let's do it. And I didn't even really ask her yet. She was like, yeah, let's do this. I'm like, what? It was like, because the idea was already implanted. The reason, the purpose, the why, the how, the what, everything was already so entrenched that she had already been bought in herself. And she was like, yeah, where do I sign? Let's roll. And and Shane's done that. I mean, God, Shane, the last couple months I was there before COVID hit, you were like in the top whatever in the company. And it was crazy. Like for new sales, it was crazy. And it's because of these processes, guys. So if we had to recap, Shane, full recap, high level cliff notes, what do you want people to take away from this?
Everybody's in sales, like from the get-go, right? Sales is not a bad thing. Sales is not you trying to maliciously like use cars, sell somebody. It's if you come at it from good intentions with empathy and understanding, because that's what the influence is, right? It's like, hey, I empathize with you. I understand your situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want to lose 50 pounds. Okay. I understand that that's making you really uncomfortable with losing 50 pounds because you just had your second kid and you don't feel like yourself and you don't have the self-confidence, which affects your relationship with your husband and affects what you want to wear and affects what you want to do and affects your social life. Okay. I can empathize with that. I understand that. All right. I want to give you the solution to create that change. Okay. That's the difference. That's the consultative approach versus the like, hey, I don't give a shit about your situation or how it benefits you. What am I going to get? Where's my commission check?
Yep.
Right? Big difference.
Yep. So look at it. So the big thing that I'm taking away from this is look at it from the frame of mind of how can I help somebody? How can I solve a problem versus how do I make a paycheck? And second, have empathy. What I took away, be genuine, have empathy, be consistent, be persistent, do your research because you were talking to friends and family before you even had a conversation with this person. So do your research, get to know the ins and outs, the whys, the whats, the hows, the what went well, what didn't go well. Do your research and come into the conversation with the right state of mind, with the right intentions. Because if you come with the right intentions, the right state of mind, if you come with a hand in place that's going to allow you to give somebody a genuine experience that's positive, it's going to drastically change how the rest of that goes.
Stack the deck in your favor. Like that's what sales is it's not you're going to be 100% I'm going to close every single deal ever, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's I'm not going to go in and just roll the dice. What are all the things that I can do to stack the deck in my favor, to improve my odds? Okay. Learn your person, learn their needs, create the solution, know your market, ask the right questions. Okay. Move them in the direction that's going to be the best fit for them. Make the impact. The best salespeople never worry about their commission check because the commissions just naturally come when you have the intention of I'm just helping people in the best way possible.
Yep. I love that. So it's like Russian roulette. Don't be the person that plays Russian roulette hoping that the one bullet doesn't hit you. Right? Like,
and then blaming the customer, like, oh, that was a stupid client. Like they didn't want anything. They think they're going to do this on their own.
that was a
Not
bad
their
lead.
fault.
That was a bad lead.
Oh my God. Bad lead.
It's like, no, you did a bad job connecting with that lead, and you did a bad job prepping for that lead, and so always look internally before you look externally. Did I do everything possible in my power to make sure that I gave this person the best experience and the best customized approach possible? If not, nothing else matters outside of me. So, anything you want to close on, Shane? Because I know you have. I can see you
piggyback
talking.
on that just one second. Okay. Do you have any ideas like how many times I heard like, oh, I didn't sell that person because they were a bad lead? And I would follow up with like, okay, what did you ask them? Or okay, why did they want to accomplish these goals? What were their goals?
Yeah.
And I just got blank stares back like, oh, I don't know. Like I forgot. What do you mean you forgot? How did you forget? Because you weren't prepared going into it.
And you didn't
You
care.
fucked it up. No, you didn't care. You said an appointment's in my calendar. I'm just going to roll with it and see what happens. Okay. And then if it doesn't go my way, I'm going to blame the customer because you didn't prepare.
Yep. I had
That's why you suck at this.
I had a lot of scenarios like that where they go, I don't understand. I did this. I don't know why I sold them. And I go, okay, tell me a little bit about that person. What do they do in with their free time? I don't know. What do they do? They have a family? I don't know, but I know what their goals are, and I know why they want to get to them. Great. You don't know shit about that person. You don't know anything about them. You don't know what makes them tick. You don't know what makes them hurt. You don't know what makes them feel good. You don't know what makes them feel pain. And if you don't have that, nothing else matters. And so,
because you don't know how to help them.
Yeah, be genuine. Know what their issues are. Get to know them on a deeper level. So, Shane, I'm going to let you close it out, and then I'll finish it up. Final closing thoughts.
Don't be a dick.
Yes! That's hilarious. Wow, that's the name of a book I know.
No, it's the intentions. Like sales is not hard when you come from the right place.
Yeah.
The reason that I had so much success in personal training in the fitness industry was because I saw the pain of my family and the people that were most important to me not having the help they needed.
Yeah.
And I saw that result in the eyes of every person I sat in front of that said that they couldn't do this time and time again when they tried it on their own. And I was going to be that outlet that was going to change that future. That's why I had so much success, because I came from a good place and I genuinely cared.
And that's why politicians suck.
Yeah, because they don't care. They just want the votes.
They don't give a shit.
They don't give a shit.
That's a whole nother.
Not at all.
That's another 3-hour
manipulation
podcast.
versus influence, right? Okay.
Yep.
Influence is like, hey, I have your best intentions in mind. I just need you to see that. Manipulation is, I don't give a fuck about what your intentions are. I need my commission check.
I need my way so I can get what I need, and I'm going to show you things that make you think it's about you, but it's not really. So, closeout statements on my end, guys. Be genuine. Do your homework beforehand. Get to know people. It's a people business. And the preparation comes with that. The preparation comes from giving a crap. And those that don't give a crap probably won't prepare. Those that do give a crap do prepare. And that's in your personal life, that's in your business life, that's in everything. When you're trying to help make somebody see your side of things and give them something that you want to give them, you have to have them see it, and they have to be the ones that go, yes, I need this. Because if they don't, and you don't give them a genuine experience, nothing else matters. So, Shane, thank you for coming on. I have to pee again. Am I allowed to pee on podcasts? Because I've never seen Joe Rogan do that, but I went upstairs like really
Dude,
fast.
he does like 3 hour
I'm
podcasts
like,
too.
how do you
Like,
do a
how does he make
3 hour?
that
Yeah,
happen?
how do you do a 3 hour podcast and not take a piss? What in the world? But guys, thank you again for watching. One of the things I want you to do is, if you watch the video at all, comment on what you took away from it. Because obviously, the big thing for Shane and I know speaking from experience with him, is that we want to know what you learned. What did you take away? What was the big aha moment for you? And then, so that way we can learn what people like, what they want to know more about. And if you have questions, post it below as well. And then, Shane, thank you for coming on. I'm sure we'll probably do more of these together again.
Yeah,
And
it's fun, man.
I had a good time. But guys, have a good night. Let me know what your thoughts were. Anything that you want us to talk about, we can follow up. Shane can follow up. I can follow up. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great weekend. See you, Shane.
See you, bud.